of Sedona. We understand that some of the information that was delivered in the transmission in Sedona has caused quite a stir in your reality. To some degree, this was the intention, to stir the pot. But allow us to explain a little bit more clearly. First of all, there was a lot of speculation about why what was said was said. We will assure all of you that it came from us. It did not come from the channel. For those who would know the channel, you would know that the channel never would have said what we said, especially not in public. The idea is to understand that what was said was a response to a question that was asked about the energies associated with the choices you had before you. And the idea to pay attention to is the reactions that occurred. A couple of which were when the announcement was made, when the information was delivered, several people were surprised in a variety of ways, and some took it upon themselves to think, well, Bashar must be wrong, or Bashar has gone off the rails, or the channel must be interfering with Bashar's message somehow. This cannot be Bashar. It is fascinating to note that for all the time that many people have been absorbing and receiving information from us on a variety of subjects, that as soon, no matter how long that's been, as soon as they have heard something that seems contrary to what they believe, suddenly the immediate reaction or assumption is that something must be wrong with the delivery, something must be interfering with the delivery, instead of a more balanced reaction of, well, that's interesting. I wonder why that was said that way. Or is it possible that this may mean something other than what I think? Or even, in your vernacular, as you say often, God forbid, I might actually be wrong in my beliefs. The idea is, of course, you can believe what you want. It is up to you. We are just observing the reactions and the idea that it gives us and the information that it gives us with regard to how ready people are for contact, how ready people are to be in a balanced state rather than thrown off balance. The idea also is that the information was simply an observation. Remember, we are not giving you an opinion. We are telling you what we see. When we answer a question, we are looking at the information embedded within the structure of space-time and simply reporting what it is we observe. As with anything, the information that we receive is of the moment and in the present, and as we have said, not a prediction, but simply a recognition of where the energy is at that moment it is delivered. Again, not an opinion, but an observation. Again, many may disagree with this observation, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what is embedded in the fabric of space-time. Also, the idea of delivering the information in that way, unusual as it was, we will admit, was the product of conferring with many other beings to make sure that the information was appropriate to deliver at that time. And again, for a variety of reasons. one of which was to accelerate the splitting of the prism that is going on in your reality, because several of the reactions to the information we delivered caused an acceleration in moving in whatever direction you had chosen to move. In other words, the statement ensured that the train tracks leaving the station would get farther apart, to accelerate the idea of the splitting and to bring about the idea of the evolution of humanity in a particular way, so that contact could occur in whatever way it needs to. The idea of saying that the feminine would lead to contact could have been said just that simply. The feminine would lead to contact. Or we could have said the feminine would lead to contact, the male would not, instead of the full delivery of what we had said. However, that wouldn't have been absolutely accurate. Both directions, in some way, shape, or form, will lead to contact. But it is the nature of that contact, the style of the contact, and the reason for the contact that will change according to which direction all of you decided to choose. We will be conferring, based on the outcome you have chosen, with many councils in our interstellar alliance, in order to determine what is now the most appropriate way for contact to occur. It will have shifted a little bit based on your choices, but it will occur. It is, in fact, at this point in your timelines, inevitable. We have said that it will occur within the next 5 of your years. This may still hold true. The idea is that there still can be a major event sometime in your late 2026, early 2027, that will begin this process. Again, not necessarily saying exactly the nature of this event or the causation of it. But like anything in creation, you will experience it in whatever way you have created your reality to be based on, whether out of love or out of fear. Not saying that the contact itself will in any way, shape, or form be fearful, but that the style of the contact may take its cue from whatever energy exists at the time in which it occurs. This will be the reason for much consultation, discussion, conferencing among us, so that we may determine the absolute correct timing, the absolute nature and style of the contact that will serve humanity best. But I do, in fact, repeat, it will be for the benefit and service of humanity, no matter how it is brought about, no matter what style it may appear in, no matter what course it may need to take, based on conditions that exist at the moment we determine that the timing of contact is appropriate. We encourage all of you to remain in a positive state, no matter what your belief system. And we will again reiterate that the idea of what we said is based not on necessarily actual physical individuals, but the idea of the qualities of feminine energy and masculine energy as they exist on your planet at this time. To take stock of either energy and to understand the importance and value of balancing that energy within you. so that the style of contact can be one that would be more completely representative of the idea of acceptance, of love, connection, and not necessarily of experiences that have to do with fear or disconnection or negativity in any way. Again, it will be for the service of humanity in the style in which it occurs. But we will, at the same time, remind you that we always have a reason for saying what is said, for delivering the information that is allowed to be delivered. There is always a purpose to it, even though you may not always be privy to that purpose. There are many things going on behind the scenes on your planet, some positive, some negative. Allow yourselves, without dissolving into conspiracy theories, as we have outlined in step 1 of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment, but allow yourselves to understand there are many things going on behind the scenes. You have or are about to enter a new age on your planet, a new age of ideas of control, ideas of power, ideas of oversight, ideas that may bring about what appears to be a relatively peaceful world, though it may not necessarily be for the reasons that you think. Until such time as contact occurs to illuminate what is actually going on your planet behind the scenes, and to bring about a new understanding that will, at that moment, allow humanity to truly decide what direction it wishes to go in, how it wishes to evolve in the future, and how it can finally give up the illusion of power and focus on the power of the illusion. There are many things that are occurring and many ways in which we will communicate this idea in upcoming transmissions, revealing a bit more each time and also more of how you can, in your own energy, remain in a balanced and positive state. For do remember, as we have always said, it's not about what happens as much as it is about what you do with what happens that determines how you experience your reality. There are some who will, in the upcoming times, in the upcoming days, weeks, months, find that what they thought was true is not so much. So we encourage everyone to remain in a balanced state, no matter what you believed to be true before, for there will be a new truth, a new understanding when contact occurs that will be revealed to you to allow you to open your eyes and see clearly, for the first time in a long time, how you have arrived at where you have arrived and where you can go from here should you decide to choose the path that is offered to you from your galactic family. All of this is said with the deepest love and appreciation and gratitude, and a reminder that Earth is a tough school. But despite all of that, it is a play that you are acting out on a stage, and regardless of who you may label, a hero or a villain, Remember that you are all actors, and that once the play is over and you allow yourself to come from your soul center, you all recognize that you all simply chose to play a part that would allow for certain challenges to be faced and changes to be made that would thrust you into the future in a positive evolutionary path that will benefit all of humanity one way or another. And that the divisiveness that you now experience will become the very grounded foundation of the unity that you will create in the near future, in the days and years to come. So watch your definitions and understand that just like the actors in a play, no matter who is playing the hero, no matter who is playing the villain in anyone's eyes, when the play is done, all the actors will get together, give up those identities, and truly settle down to share a meal as colleagues, as friends, as family. Unity is inevitable, but only through the validation of the differences in positive ways will that occur. We will remind you of this over and over again. And the ultimate reminder will be when we are face to face with you in the near future, at the time of contact, which is now, depending on style and regardless of style, inevitable. For you have crossed a threshold, you have tipped the scales, and it is on the horizon. We thank you for allowing us to share this clarification with you. Please take it in the spirit in which it is intended, and understand again, we always have a purpose and a reason for the information we deliver to all of you, though you may not always be privy to that reason right away. A lot of this is a test. A lot of this is a measure. A lot of this is to let us know what you are ready for and what you are not. For again, there are only very few circumstances in which we will intervene. But should those circumstances arise, we will be among you to make sure, first and foremost, that the unique school that is the earth will survive. For that is our priority. For your culture, happy Halloween. The information we are delivering today is titled Facing Your Demons, in which we are explaining the idea of the mechanics of negative energy and disconnection as you experience it relative to the idea of the entities that you refer to in your society as demons and demonic experiences. So allow us to explain how this works. As we have talked about, the idea of what you typically refer to as negative energies, which really are simply lower vibrational energies that might be discordant or out of alignment with the flow of unconditional love. Even though everything is made from unconditional love, there can be a counterpoint to this vibrational energy that would seem to be out of phase with it in terms of your experience of that energy. It's similar to the idea of either filtering your energy through positive belief systems, which create the idea of love and joy, or filtering your belief systems through negative ideas, which create the idea of fear. So let us dive deeper into the idea of how filtering your energy through belief systems that are aligned with the vibration of fear bring about certain experiences in your civilization, in your culture, that you have referred to as demonic. Now, the idea, as expressed by some people, is that there can be such a thing as negative entities that have attached themselves to you. This, of course, is just an experience and just a perspective. There really is no such thing as entities that can attach themselves to you in the way that most people on your planet mean this. It is an outdated and old-fashioned way of interpreting the idea of your own energy shifting in to negative vibrations and fear-based vibrations. Because you have to remember, the idea of negative energy, fear-based energy, is one that creates an experience of disconnection from source. Not that you can be disconnected from source, but it creates an experience of disconnection. Therefore, by creating that experience as if you are now disconnected from source, that immediately creates the apparition or appearance or illusion of something being separated from you, distant from you, as if an entity existed in that vibrational energy apart from you. And yet underlying in your unconscious mind, you know that there is still a connection. So when you filter your energy through certain belief systems, knowing the polarity unconsciously that there is still a connection that has to do with you and your energy, and yet you have created this vibration of separation as if you are dealing with a different entity, a separate entity, rather than dealing with your own energy. You combine those two ideas into the notion that this negative entity has attached itself to you, which is just an old-fashioned way of saying that you recognize simultaneously that this has to do with filtering your energy through negative belief systems, fear-based belief systems, and yet it creates a separation, a disconnection experience that makes it seem as if this entity exists outside of you. And yet, because of the innate understanding that there's a connection, you then express it as if this entity has attached itself to you. Now, on a grander scale, with the idea of demons in general and demonic entities in general, this is simply a larger scale of this idea. Demons don't exist in their own right. They're not independent entities in the same way that you might think of another being, such as another human or an extraterrestrial or a spirit in that sense. Yes, we understand that there can be negative entities in existence. But in terms of the idea of what you on Earth experience as demonic presences, is not that kind of an experience, is not that kind of an expression. We have talked before about the idea that your collective consciousness creates archetypal entities, manifestations that are representative of certain large group ideas in your collective consciousness that can actually manifest and appear to you as if they are independent entities, what are simply representative of archetypal sections of your collective consciousness that represent different features of humanity. Well, there is a negative and polarized side to that as well. So the idea that you call demons are simply the negative side of the archetypal spectrum that you contain within your collective consciousness. So in other words, when you have certain belief systems that are based on these low vibrations, negative vibrations, fear-based vibrations, and it creates this disconnection and illusion of separation, you project that idea into the polarized side of the archetypal collective consciousness and call that, instead of angelic, demonic. So the idea is that demons are simply a projection from a collective level, a manifestation, an embodiment temporarily of what represents that fear-based collective belief rather than the individual belief. So the idea is that while each and every one of you as individuals may add to this because you are experiencing the concept of these polarities with yourself individually, you also add to the idea of the collective on the negative archetypal side that allows you to experience manifestations, projections, apparitions, appearances of these demonic entities as reflections of the negative side of the collective consciousness of humanity. So the demons are simply made out of your own collective energy. They exist temporarily as representations of what kind of negative collective archetypal energy you may be dealing with within your own belief system. And they can appear to be independent entities, separate from yourself, disconnected from yourself, because once again, negative energy creates the idea and the illusion of separation. So they appear to be something that is not necessarily being projected from you. That's how they appear. But again, you have to understand that what you call demons are simply a reflection on an archetypal level of the collective consciousness that is negative of your entire humanity. So this is why even when in olden times people made lists of all the demons and their qualities, as you can find in some of your old texts and old scriptures and the translations thereof, if you pay attention, you will realize that a lot of the qualities assigned to different demons are simply different negative attributes of humanity. So when you talk about the idea of a demon that is associated with greed, you will understand that's just a reflection of the negative side of belief systems that can create greed in a human being. So when you have the idea of some other feature that is negative associated to a demon, then the idea is that you're seeing a reflection on a collective archetypal level of something that does have the ability to manifest, let's say, formed from the clay of the collective consciousness and projected outside yourself and experienced as if it is truly an independent entity with its own consciousness, even though it's not, but it's depicted that way so that you can understand it as a reflection, because that's the result of negative energy, that sense of separation. And yet again, because of the connection unconsciously, then you feel an attack from this demon because it is connected to you, because you're going through the idea of your negative belief systems and projecting it outside yourself as the representation of this demonic entity. So the idea in your ancient scriptures of the so-called demons being representative of fallen angels is simply another way of saying that you as a spirit entity chose to densify yourself, to focus yourself down into physical materiality. And because of the nature of the polarity in the way it's expressed and experienced in physical reality, you experience this idea of dealing with the negative side, the polarized side of the archetypal collective consciousness that is created when you all agreed to experience together the idea of a physical reality. And you experience not only the positive side of the archetypal energy, but the negative side of it as well, projected seemingly outside yourself because of that separation that happens, that illusion of separation that happens when you deal with the idea of fear-based beliefs and see them projected outside yourself, when in fact, it's just a reflection of something you're dealing with inside yourself, which is why instinctively humanity understands this and has said and used the phrase to face your own demons. because that is literally the truth of what you're doing anytime you may have an experience with what appears to be a separate entity that you would refer to as demonic. You are facing your own demons, projected out of your consciousness, formed out of the clay of the collective consciousness, and reflected back to you, so that you have something separate from yourself that appears to be separate from yourself to deal with in that sense. But you have to understand it's nothing but a manifestation of your own fear-based beliefs, your own negative beliefs, but from a collective level. And so it seems like it has nothing to do with you, when it has everything to do with the belief systems that you're facing. So it is about facing your own demons. And therefore, that's why things like possession and negative entity attachment are all illusions that simply are outdated ways of expressing the manifestation of changing your own energy's vibration to something that is fear-based, negative-based, a lower frequency that allows you to experience these things as if they were happening outside of you and attacking you. But it's all happening within you. It's all a manifestation of the archetypal level that is negative in the collective consciousness of humanity. So when you face your inner demons, you are experiencing the idea of facing the so-called outer demons, which don't exist in their own right. It's just a projection of you being willing to face your inner demons and transform that and overcome that by allowing yourselves to transition your energy to, as you say in your language, the better angels of your nature. So this is all a gigantic polarity play. And the idea of dealing with that side of your own belief system, facing those demons within yourself and transforming them, is what the idea of Halloween is all about, and why you understand that it is in that time and in that season that you come to grips with the things that you fear and allow yourself to transform them into a larger understanding, a more positive understanding of your own self-empowerment and how powerful you are to be able to manifest, either individually or collectively, something that appears to be outside of yourself as a mirror reflection of the issues that you're facing within. It's all about the idea of understanding that you create your physical reality, including the idea of those old-fashioned demonic experiences that all just come from your investigation of your own inner demons. In other words, your negative and fear-based beliefs. They don't exist on their own outside of your collective consciousness. We thank you for allowing us to share this Halloween message with you this day of your time. We know that you also enjoy playing with the idea of your fear, and that is a positive way to deal with the idea. You just have to remember and recognize that it all comes from you, and you will be able to transform it, no matter how powerful, no matter how scary, no matter how demonic and terrifying it may be. It's all just another aspect of your individual or collective consciousness that you have agreed to experience here in the Earth cycle, in the physical polarity that exists in the way it is expressed in this dimension. So you have the power to transform this. As powerful as any projected demon may seem, that's an indication of the power level you have, in the capability you have to transform that energy into something positive by being willing to examine, investigate, and explore your negative and fear-based beliefs and let them go, to give them up, to break through, to open up. Remember that the universe operates on only two principles: love and fear. That's it. And you have the great experience in physical terms of experiencing that passion play played out in very convincing terms, in very tactile terms, in very physical terms, but it's all still just a projection. So fear not the idea that these entities exist apart from you and have designs upon you, for it is only a reflection of your own designs upon yourself.